the #1 long-form writer that helps SEOs outrank competition at the click of a button using real-time research and NLP. Start ranking content today with contentatScale.ai.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Hello, everybody. I'm very glad to be here today. I hope you're at least a bit more awake than I am. But so, yeah, I'm Julien. I come from France. I ride bicycles. I play the French horn. And the rest you can look up online. I'm here today to talk to you about internal linking for large websites. I'm sure it brings up a lot of questions. I'll try to answer some of those, of course. Starting with the first one, what is a large website? It depends. It varies a lot, but I like this quote from John Mueller, who basically says that if your website is less than 100,000 pages, basically you should not be too much worried about crawl budget. Well, that's maybe the limit between smaller and larger websites, but then again, it depends. However, what really matters is to understand that on larger websites, your key topics will change from authority content to more and more technical stuff. So this is a great graphics by Aleda and Mark Williams Cook. And yeah, basically on a smaller website, you can focus on nearly every page and try to make it as optimized as possible. Of course, when you're handling millions of pages, that's not possible anymore. So what I tend to do is to describe my own job as making Googlebot's job faster. And basically, yeah, that's kind of the whole philosophy behind my work. And coming to internal linking, this starts with some kind of basic stuff, which is fixing errors. So we can start by just crawling our website and see what's going on. It could take a while on larger websites. Of course, nowadays we've got great tools to do this, but a few years ago it was very, very complicated to be crawling millions of web pages. So be prepared to wait a bit, and maybe be prepared also not to crawl the entire website. In most cases, with only a sample of pages, you will be able to find like 90% of the problems on the website. However, once the crawl is done, what you should first focus on is fixing broken links. So avoiding redirects. They are a waste of time for everybody, bots, but also humans, because it takes longer to access the final content you are looking for. They virtually increase the number of URLs on your website. This is a screenshot from an audit I did just a few weeks ago on a website, and basically this one has like half of its URLs pointing to redirects. They changed the URLs, but they did not update the internal links. So really the idea here is to remember to link directly to the destination. I'm not saying not to do redirects. They are very important, of course, especially when you're migrating or changing URLs and stuff. But we often forgot to update our internal links, and that's really key. Just this basic step can already improve a lot of things on your website. There are, of course, other kinds of errors, so 404s, 410s and stuff. Of course, we will try to fix broken links again, but what's very important here is to have a strategy for expired content. So, for example, on an e-commerce website, you've got some products that will come out of stock. What do you do with them? Do you keep the page? Do you kill it? It depends, of course, on the context, but you have to have a strategy. Another key point is no index pages. they are basically a waste of time for Googlebot, so it will have to crawl a lot of pages that might not be relevant at all. And it will have to crawl those to be aware that it cannot index those. So let's try not to do too many links to these pages and maybe block those. And the same goes with empty pages. So I talked about expired content for product pages, but it goes the same way for category pages, basically. If you've got a bunch of products that become out of stock, maybe some of your categories won't have any products anymore, then again, have a strategy for those. Now, let's dive into some more specific stuff. There are a lot of ways to analyze internal linking. I will focus only on a few key topics for me. And the first one is PageRank. I'm sure many of you here today know what PageRank is. It's very interesting for us because it's kind of synthesized the whole internal linking metrics. It's also highly correlated to traffic. The more PageRank your pages get inside a website, the more they are prone to bring traffic. And it's kind of easy to calculate internal PageRank on a website. Nowadays, nearly all crawlers already do that. It's not always called PageRank. For example, on OnCrawl, it's called InRank. On Screaming Frog, it's called link score and so on, but it exists. And if it does not, it's quite easy to calculate it yourself, even on large websites. Nowadays, for example, in Python, it just takes a few seconds. Once you've calculated PageRank, you can basically just start by sorting your pages and see which pages get the most PageRank internally. This is a dummy example from my girlfriend's website, but basically it will work on any website, and you should check whether these pages are relevant according to your business objectives. You can also try to see whether your PageRank is going to the internal pages or maybe external. For example, here we've got like a third of our links going to other websites. Is it relevant or not? On a media website, it might be. On an e-commerce one, I might not be so sure about this. And we've also got some links to non-200 pages, so basically errors, redirects, and so on. We can also easily compare values. So, for example, here with OnCrawl, I compared clicks from Google Search Console on the left and PageRank on the right, and I can very quickly see some, for example, categories here who get quite a lot of PageRank but don't bring any traffic at all. This should be one of the focus points in my audit, for example. Now I can bring a lot of data with this, so get server logs data, get traffic data, sales, stock, or any kind of business value for my pages. And this will help me a lot, for example, to split my inventory. What I like to do is to split every segment of my website with at least 4 groups. So the first one will be my top pages, the Pareto principle, so like the 10 or 20% of pages that brings a lot of traffic. Then I'll get a bigger group with my mid-tier pages, so basically in an e-commerce website, this might be the pages that will bring some conversion every so often, but not every day, for example. Lower tier pages will be the ones I would like to keep, but if they don't get really indexed by Google, that's not the end of the world. And then the garbage one. The garbage one is all the pages I want to get rid of. So not relevant pages, filters on faceted navigation, for example, etc., etc. When I say I want to get rid of those, it's on an SEO perspective, of course. It does not mean I want my users not to be able to access internal search, for example. Now that I've split my inventory, I can start thinking about optimizing my internal links. And basically, we've got 3 directions on any website to make links. First one, of course, is downwards. So basically, it's your typical menu. On larger websites, You'll probably see mega menus like this. I know some SEOs are not big fans of those, but really when you've got millions of pages, you kind of are obligated to do this. Of course, you can also go up, basically with a breadcrumb. So breadcrumbs are sometimes a bit difficult to defend regarding UX and designers and stuff. One of the examples I like a lot, especially on mobile, is from Decathlon in France. So here we have only the last part of the breadcrumb appearing, but if I click on the 3 dots here, I will get the whole breadcrumb with all my categories. It does not take much space for the user, but it's still relevant for the SEO. I can still implement my microdata and stuff, and it works quite well. In my opinion, the most important links internally are sideway links. So for example, from product to product or from category to category. The basic example is, for example, here from Amazon, the related products. They do a ton of those for business reasons, of course, but also for SEO. It works very, very well. I can only encourage you to implement these links. And of course, if you're not able to get your hands on these kind of links on your website, maybe you can also imagine some specific SEO links block. This is an example from a French website. I used to work with them like maybe 8 or 10 years ago. It was really a pain to implement this block. At the first time, we only had like 20 or 30 links in this block. Nowadays, it's a huge block of links with like hundreds of links in that because it works very, very well for them and they still use it. Now, which links should I put in these links blocks? Basically, you've got 2 options. The first one is to come on with your own algorithm, so get some rules to decide which links you should or should not include in every link, and maybe try to make sure that you've got the right amount of links to every pages. You can also try to relate on some external tools. This is a tool from France. It's called barbar.tech. It analyzes internal and external links with a semantic view. And it has, for example, a tool that for any URL on my website will get me some recommendations of relevant pages to make links from or to these pages. It's very useful. It works very well even on larger websites. Of course, the tool should have to crawl your website first, but it's very, very useful and kind of off the shelf already. What I really like also is to think about slots on my link blocks. For example, let's imagine a link block basically with 5 links here, whatever kind of block we want. I'll divide it with maybe 3 links in the middle for my mid-tier pages, so basically the most important part of my inventory. I will try also to have a few links to my top pages. It's only taking 1 spot in my link block, but as this block will be replicated in millions of pages, my top pages will get a lot of links. And I might also try to get some links to my lower tier pages so that they can still have a chance to perform in SEO. An example here is from location-based website from France. So we are on a city page from south of France, and we've got some points of interest nearby. So an airport, a station, and some cities. So these are my mid-tier pages, basically. And then I've got some links to top cities nearby. So these are my big business pages that I want to perform very well in SEO. But it's not shown as important as the nearby cities because I also want my users to be able to navigate through the website. And what about lower tier links? Well, they are kind of hidden in the footer, but they are still there. Quick point about anchor links. There have been a few studies about this, but this one is the newest one I know of. It's from Zippy. And basically what it tells us is that the more diverse anchor links you've got internally to pages, the more clicks they probably will get you. That's very interesting, also because you are able to optimize a lot more internal anchor text, than you would be on external links. So if you are like buying backlinks to a website, you would not be able to be so optimized in your anchor texts. Now, the last step is basically to repeat this process. Internal linking is an iterative process. You won't be able to get it right the first time, especially on larger websites. So remember that you will have to iterate. So plan ahead. Anticipate your needs. For example, if your business is very prone to seasonality, to inventory variations, make sure that the rules you defined will adapt to this. What I really like to do is also to design adaptable blocks. So what I mean by that is I will have a set of default rules, but I will also try to get tools either to update the rules, make sure that I can, for example, change the parameters of my rules, and also maybe on some specific pages, be able to manually update the links because I want for some pages to have very, very specific internal links. Finally, and maybe more importantly, remember that we only improve what we measure. What this means is you have to follow up on what's going on your website. Basically, for internal links and iterations like this, how did your KPIs improve or not? How did they evolve, sorry? Regarding crawl metrics, of course, is Google's attention focusing on the right pages or not? Did your rankings or your traffic improve as well? And also, because internal links should be useful for users, did the users get a better experience with your links? If you do that, you should be okay. So wrapping up, remember to fix your errors first. This sounds basic, but it's very important, and it will already give you very good results. Then you can step on analyzing stuff. I find it very useful to split your inventory so that you can prioritize and make sure you focus on the right pages and you don't spend too much time on not relevant ones. And finally, remember that it's not magical. It won't probably be perfect the first time, so you will have to repeat this process. That's it for me. Thanks very much.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.